Hi, and welcome back to Snooze Worthy. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Paige.
And today we're going to kick off our April theme, which we are really, really excited about because it's something we talk about with our clients all the time. But we actually haven't fully unpacked it like that here at Snoozeworthy yet. And this is the idea that sleep actually lives in a system. So if you're listening to this and sleep has been feeling really hard for you lately, this episode is totally for you. When we are working with clients or we're engaging with people, we hear this almost every single day. A mom will come to us and she'll say, I feel like I tried everything. I followed the wake windows, I've done a routine, I've even tried sleep training, but nothing is working. We're still in a really challenging phase. And what you can hear is that it's just not exhaustion anymore, it's truly confusion and it's frustration. And it truly is a total mental load to try to solve something that feels like it should be working, but it's not.
Absolutely. And I think that that's the part that really weighs on parents because you're doing what you've been told should work. And when it doesn't, you start to question yourself. You start to feel like you're the problem. And that's not a great space to be in.
Exactly. So we really want to talk about why that is happening today. So the biggest issue we see is that the sleep industry teaches sleep in a very method first way. It's always try this specific method, cry it out, fervor, or follow this exact schedule, do this exact routine, same steps every night. And those things aren't necessarily wrong. Like we talk about each one of those and we love them for their purpose, but it could be that it's incomplete, one without the others. And because what happens is that parents will implement everything exactly as they're told, when it doesn't work, they assume that they're doing something wrong. Or that they just chalk it up to, I have a bad sleeper. This kid is never going to be a good sleeper. But really, in reality, it's not that they're doing it wrong. It's just that they have been taught incomplete information.
Yep. And we see that pattern all the time. Almost daily, we hear this conversation. It's wild. But the families that come to us who are incredibly consistent, they've put that effort in and they're still stuck. And that's usually when we know that it isn't about doing more, it's about going deeper into what they're already doing.
Yes, exactly. So let's break down what exactly is missing for them. So the first piece is schedule, but not in the way most people think about it. This isn't just about a specific wake window, okay? It's about your child's internal clock or what we call their circadian rhythm. And we talk a lot about circadian
We
rhythm
love
because
it.
it truly is that foundational piece to sleep. And with both of my kids, we really were very intentional early on about supporting their rhythm, literally from the day that they got home from the hospital. And we focused on consistent wake times, which I think this one shocks most people. Consistency in wake time across the week is so important for that internal body clock. Also, getting them natural light early on in the day, and then aligning naps and bedtimes with what their bodies actually need. So, because of that, sleep fell into place pretty naturally for us. And both of my kiddos were sleeping through the night around 12 weeks. And a lot of people would ask, well, what did you do? And honestly, it wasn't one specific thing. It was that all of the pieces were aligned to allow for them to get good quality sleep.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important distinction because parents will often try to fix sleep with small tweaks, but without asking if the rhythm itself is aligned. And when it's not, those tweaks just aren't enough. They're either going to exacerbate it in a more negative way or they'll kind of build a band aid for a few days and then the chips fall again and you're still scrambling to find what works.
Yes, totally. And as we know, schedule continues to change and morph as a kiddo gets older. So that's another piece of the puzzle, too, is if you get something locked and loaded, I'm going to tell you, most likely, especially in young babies, a few months later, it's going to look totally different.
Yeah.
So sleep is an ever evolving thing, and schedule is an ever evolving thing that if you just don't know about it, you might not be able to keep on top of what your child really needs
Yeah.
from a schedule
And
perspective.
also
So let's
clear
talk about.
Also, to your point, Lindsay, about the schedule changes and as they come, typically when your child is queuing for a schedule change, it's in a negative light. It looks like a regression, which makes people panic even more. And it's not always negative. They're just telling you the only way they can. Hey, I need more sleep pressure, right? So that's an interesting conversation to have with families too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that you highlighted it because in my own family, right, and with my clients, that's always the case. Is something is going awry and there's panic, but when in all honesty, it's just a sign. It's a
Mhm.
signal we need to change things.
Yep.
So, love that. The second piece of all of this really is environment, and I do think that this is one of the most overlooked pieces
Agree.
because your child's body is constantly taking in cues, right? Taking in light, we're taking in stimulation, we're taking in noise, and we're taking in consistency of a daily routine. And so what we often see is evenings that are unintentionally working against sleep. So think things like bright lights, the TV is on, kids are playing loudly, and then all of a sudden it's time for bed. So the body hasn't had a chance to shift out of that daytime mode. So they're worked up, right? They're not ready for bed. They're not wind down. But when you start to actually dim the lights, slow things down, and we create that predictable flow, you can actually feel the shift happen in your home and in your children.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually one of the quickest wins for families to do because you're not forcing the bedtime, you're preparing the body for it without even your children noticing. So it's very easy to do.
Yeah. So the third one here is regulation. And this one definitely doesn't get talked about enough in the sleep space, but it is one that really changes everything because this is about your child's nervous system. But guess what? It's also about your nervous system as the parent. So you can feel the difference between being rushed and totally stressful at bedtime to a calm and connected one. So there are nights where everything can feel chaotic, right? You're trying to move quickly, your child is overtired, maybe you're overwhelmed because you had a big day, and that bedtime just really, really feels difficult.
Mhm.
But then there's those nights where things are slower, they're more intentional, there's a nice piece of connection, and guess what? Your child settles so much easier. And in those cases, it's not because you did something completely different, right? The steps probably were very similar, but it was because the energy in the home was different.
Yeah, it's a huge role, especially with those younger ones who maybe still haven't gone through full autonomy yet. They're just soaking all that energy up and mimicking it back, especially to mamas, so it can be really, really hard to do. And I think that parents don't always realize that they are just as big of a piece of the puzzle in regulation as their kids need to be. They're just so sensitive to how things feel and they can see those shifts happening before you might even be aware of them. So when we help parents regulate themselves, that's often when we see the biggest shift with the babies that we're working with. Once mom and dad are calm, baby's able to master their skill and feel calm themselves and learn something new.
And that's one of my favorite pieces of the puzzle when we're working with families is really seeing that piece to come together because everybody is feeling better in the home at that point in time.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
I agree.
So let's play this out. So we see this play out all of the times with our families, right? And so this one family that really stands out to me personally had a toddler who had just transitioned to a big kid bed. But at the same time, they had welcomed a new sibling and
Like,
everything was just unraveling for them, right? Bedtime was taking over an hour. There was consistent getting in and out of bed, what I like to say, little visitors overnight. There was early mornings. And the parents who we had worked with previously when this toddler was a baby felt like they were back at square one. Their instinct was to just get stricter with this child. But when we talked and we really zoomed out, we saw that something different needed to happen. And what we saw was that sleep doesn't actually start at bedtime. In fact, it starts from the moment your child wakes up. So instead of just looking at nighttime, we started to look at that full day. Biologically, this little kiddo had become overtired. Environmentally, there was a lot more stimulation going on when you have a new little sibling enter the picture. And emotionally, this was a huge change. This little guy needed connection. He was striving and starving for connection. So, with this family, we decided to focus on a couple of things. We decided to focus on boundaries, connection, but also that parent regulation piece. So, we help them create consistent boundaries throughout the day. This is really critical. If you are a parent trying to hold boundaries at nighttime, but you can't or don't hold boundaries during the daytime, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work. Okay. Also, with this family, we added in 15 to 20 minutes of intentional one on one connection. So instead of having this little kiddo constantly be around baby, maybe I believe they had a dog as well, I asked them to pull the kiddo out into a space where it was just him. It was him, one of the parents. He was leading play, sibling, pet weren't there.
Mhm.
And that just helps so much with that connection
Mhm.
piece. And then we also worked with the parents on how they were showing up. So we asked them to slow down, to really stay calm, and to just be a steady force
Mhm.
for that little kiddo. And then we layered in structure. And within days, their bedtime improved. And within a couple of weeks' time, sleep had stabilized. And the biggest thing that they were saying was that just all feels so much easier.
Mhm.
Not fighting against bedtime and sleep anymore like we were before.
Yep. And that's the goal, not perfection, not robotic children who we're just closing the door and ignoring their needs or doing that to ourselves as parents to power through and pour from an empty cup. No, we're looking for something that actually works for your whole family with where you are currently.
Yes. So, really, here's the reframe sleep is not just about behavior. It's biological, it's environmental, and it's even emotional. And when all of those pieces align, everything is going to get easier.
Yep. And if you've been feeling stuck, you're not failing.
No, honestly, you're just missing a couple really critical pieces.
Yep. And in our next episode, we'll break down exactly what those systems are.
And if you want help though right now and you're feeling like, okay, great information, how do I take that next step? You can go and download our sleep teaching starter guide. You can join our membership or you can even book a call with Paige, myself, or any of our wonderful ladies on our team.
Yep. See you next time.
Awesome. Bye.